What's up, all my horror fanatics out there? Welcome back to Late Night Frights. I'm your horror host for this evening, the Jay Sloan or Jordan, back here to do another video for you. Thank you guys for tuning in this evening. I'm glad to be back. I missed last week because I was on vacation in Florida, but I'm back now, and it's time to get everything back to the old routine. So without wasting any more of your time, the theme this week is top 10, our top 10 favorite, top 10 underrated horror films. And I feel it's a really good concept, a really good thing we haven't done here on Late Night Frights yet. And keep in mind, this is strictly opinionated. You can have your own opinion. You are entitled to that, and we respect everyone's opinion, so please do the same. Keep it calm and friendly in the comment box below. So yeah, there's so many that I just wanted to add, but I had to squeeze it into a 10 list, and this is what I came up with. There's so many more, but this is mine. These are not from like the least underrated to most underrated. These are just a 10 list that I threw together. These are all at random, so we're going to go now. The first one is a 1981 slasher, and that is The Burning. Classic slasher. Absolutely love this one. I always have since I've seen it. Very campy, very cheesy, good acting, and not a lot of people knew about this one. I know some people still don't know about this one, but it's starting to get shed a lot more now with the new Scream Factory release. And it's very underrated. Not talked about, or wasn't talked about a lot over the past couple of years, but like I said, a lot of people are starting to talk about it now. This is a great addition, great film. To be quite honest, I prefer this one just a little bit more over the original Friday the 13th. Say what you will, but I do. I love this movie. I feel it has great gore, just an all-around great flick, but highly underrated. Still to this day it is, but like I said, it's starting to get more popular. Moving on, we have a film from 1992, and that is starring Edward Furlong, Clancy Brown, Anthony Edwards, Pet Sematary 2. This is a sequel to the classic Pet Sematary, which is a novel, which is adapted from a novel of Stephen King's Pet Sematary. This is just, they had a free piece of paper. They could write down whatever they want, and they came up with this sequel. And I really enjoyed this sequel. I don't love it, but I do enjoy it. It doesn't carry the same emotion and the same feeling as the original, not to me anyway, but I still love this movie, and highly check it out, or highly recommend it. Definitely check it out. I know there are a few people who do like it and do love it like I do, and one of them is Connor Kaiser. But yeah, guys, what can I say? It is underrated. It's one of those films that I don't understand why it doesn't get more credit and doesn't get more people who enjoy it or are fans of the film. So that's Pet Sematary 2. Definitely check it out. As you can see, I'm not reviewing these films. That would take too long. I just got to get through the 10 films and tell you what I think about them, why I think they're underrated, and so on and so forth. There's actually 11 films. I added 11 because there was one film that I just had to add, and that film was The Burning. So these, yeah, we're going to move on. The next one's a 2007 film, I believe, and that's The Strangers. This one's starring Liv Tyler, Scott Speedman. This one is very mind-blowing. I don't understand why people dislike it still to this day. It's getting some competition with The Purge and You're Next. I did like You're Next. Not a big fan of The Purge, but I still think this one is very good. I like You're Next, but I won't dive into that. But I still think this one's very good. Very mind-blowing, mind-fucking, if that's what you want to call it. The three strangers are just very, very creepy, very eerie. The way that they move around and they just terrorize them is, you put yourself in that situation. If you were home and this happened, it would be terrifying. Like, I would shit my pants. That would be so scary to be home and just three strangers terrorize you, and then you find the motive at the end, and it's just nothing. I'm not going to spoil the whole movie, but it's an amazing movie. A lot of people still dislike this one. That's why I think it's underrated. And that's The Strangers. Definitely check it out. The next one is a 1998 film, I believe. This is my favorite vampire film of all time. It's directed by John Carpenter, starring James Woods, Daniel Baldwin, Thomas Ian Griffith. And this is Vampires. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail about this because I have talked about it on both Late Night Frights and my personal channel. I just don't think a lot of people... I don't think a lot of people know about this movie because there's not too many reviews on it. And if there is, there's a couple good reviews, but some people dislike this movie. I think it's right up there, with John Carpenter's Ghost of Mars to be one of his unpopular films, and that is definitely this one. This is one I grew up on, guys. This is one I watched at 3 a.m. in the morning when I wasn't supposed to be awake, and I just fell in love with this movie. The cast is great. The acting's good. The gore is... There's one scene still with Valak, with one of the vampire hunters, where it's up with his fingernails. I'm not going to spoil the whole scene, but that was all practical. That was done amazing. John Carpenter is my favorite horror director of all time. You know, he mixed some old school Western stuff in with this. He loves Westerns, and he mixed some of the feel to it with the vampires, the way they killed the vampires, the way they hunted them. It just doesn't get the credit it deserves, guys. It should be... We need a new release. This is the same old DVD that has been out. I think there's 2 editions of this film. This DVD, and there's one other DVD. We just need a new Blu-ray release. So maybe some people will start seeing this, and maybe some people will enjoy it as much as I do, because it is underrated, and that's vampires. Moving on to a slasher, early '80s slasher here, starring Jamie Lee Curtis. This also has an appearance in here is Leslie Nielsen. And this is Prom Night. This one is highly underrated. There are so many people who flat out hate this movie. For what reason, I can't quite understand. I think it's very suspenseful. Has a nice little twist at the end, which I won't spoil. The acting was good. Had Jamie Lee Curtis, the Scream Queen, in here. I don't get why people hate it. Maybe, you know, I've thought about maybe why people hate this movie. There's not a lot going on. It is kind of a slow-paced slasher. But my favorite slasher of all time, 1978 Halloween, that was a slower-paced film as well. But it still didn't lose its impact. To me, it never will. It never has. But I really love this movie. Why it's underrated, or why nobody likes it, I have no clue. It's just an underrated flick. There are so many people who just absolutely hate this movie. Not understandable to me, but that's Prom Night. Definitely check it out if you haven't already. Next one, this is the only Halloween film I added to this list. There were 3 others I considered. That was Halloween 3, Halloween Halloween H2O, my bad, and Halloween 5. But I thought this one was the most, I guess you could say, underrated out of all of the sequels. Halloween 3 I didn't put in because there's a part of me that hates Halloween 3, although I do like it to some extent. Halloween H2O just didn't make the cut. It was almost there. And Halloween 5 I just didn't think to add in this list. I thought this one would be the best way to go. That's Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. Now, a part of me hates this movie, just like most of the population. And for the main reason, it is the Thorn story. It's The Curse of Michael Myers, which doesn't need to be added in this film. And I will say that this is a guilty pleasure. I'm just going to say that. I don't just love this movie. This is just a guilty pleasure for me. But I still feel it's underrated. And a part of me has been able to get over the Thorn story to enjoy some of the aspects of this film. But I still feel it's underrated. And it deserves a watch if you haven't already seen it. I know a lot of people have seen it. But just give it a watch. Choose for yourself. So moving on, we have a Stephen King adaptation here. This one was written for... Oh, this one was directed by Frank Darabont, and this is The Mist. This one I feel is underrated mainly because of the ending of the film. Really just people hated it. The people hated the ending to this movie. And it's a love-hate situation for me. I know when it's coming up. I've seen this movie numerous times. I know when it's coming up, and I'm like... Shit. But it is a very shocking ending. You get used to it over time, but I do agree that it is kind of a shitty ending in another way. But other than that, it's a very creepy flick. The mist that rises in the creatures and all the how you're confined in this grocery store with this crazy biblical woman, and slowly she starts to recruit people to join her. It's just a creepy movie, and it has really great acting in it as well, and that's The Mist. Another underrated one. Definitely check it out. Moving on. Let me move this. Okay. Well, hold on. Moving on is a movie that Stephen King, I think it's his first and last film that he ever directed. It's actually written and directed by Stephen King, starring Emilio Estevez, and that is Maximum Overdrive. This movie is a classic to me. I love it. I know it's not great. It is kind of a shitty movie at times. The plot is a little bit shaky. But I still think this movie deserves way more credit than it gets. It's not as bad as everyone makes it out to be. The acting's okay. Emilio Estevez does a good job in it. The plot, like I said before, guys, is very corny, very cheesy. I just don't think people view it the way it should be viewed. Don't go into it thinking this is going to be a serious jaw-dropping horror film, because it's definitely not. But it is underrated. Give it a watch. Maximum Overdrive. Moving on is a film from the late 90s. It's a film I've loved since I was younger, starring Josh Hartnett, Elijah Wood, Jordana Brewster. Also has an appearance from Usher in here. And this one is The Faculty. A lot of people overlook this one, or kind of just like, I'm not going to like it, because it is a teen alien film. And I don't know why I love this movie so much. It's just one that, like I said, I grew up on, and it kind of clung to me. The acting's good. The plot's good. It definitely needs to get more views than it does, and more credit than it does. Not a lot of people talk about this one at all. So yeah, guys, it's underrated. Definitely check it out. That's The Faculty. Okay. Moving on, we have two more here. We have a classic slasher to me. Well, I wouldn't go as far as say it's a classic slasher, like it's so classic, but it is a good film. And it's starring Clint Howard, and it is Ice Cream Man. This movie gets overlooked for reasons I'm not quite sure of. Yeah, it's not perfect. The budget wasn't exactly high. It was kind of a cheesy movie. Ron Howard's not the best of actors. He's a good actor. He gets overlooked by Ron Howard. Did I say Ron Howard? Yeah. Clint Howard is a good actor. He gets overlooked by his older brother, or I think it's his older brother Ron Howard, because he's so famous in the movie business. And Clint Howard just doesn't get the credit he deserves. It's a creepy movie about a killer ice cream man. I dig this one. I always have since the first time I seen it. Definitely check it out. That's Ice Cream Man. Moving on to the last one. It's a 1993 film starring Jennifer Aniston, Warwick Davis, and that's Leprechaun. Now, some people are probably like, Leprechaun? That's underrated. To me, it is. I feel this film gets highly compared to Child's Play, obviously, because it's both, kind of little killers, if you will, a leprechaun and an evil doll. I've always loved Leprechaun. I'm one of those people who actually, tiny bit, I prefer it a little bit over the original Child's Play, but don't get me wrong, I love Child's Play to death. It's just, this is one I grew up on. I feel that Warwick Davis brings so much, how can I say it, just the way he moves, the way he acts, how funny he can be, but also how deadly he can be. He brings something to the character that obviously a doll could not bring to Child's Play, and he is Leprechaun. Just great in the film, and it just gets downlooked as a full comedy film, which I don't understand. It does have comedy elements to it, but it is I can't say I'm scared of this movie, or I can't say it's a creepy movie, but it is a great flick to me, and I always have loved this movie. So yeah, definitely check out Leprechaun if you haven't. I know a lot of people have. But I still feel it's underrated, and it doesn't get talked about as much as it should. It's definitely on the ranks up there, like I said, with Child's Play. I prefer it a little bit more than Child's Play. But yeah, Leprechaun, the original. So there you go, guys. There is my top 10 underrated horror films. And, well, there's 11 counting The Burning, because I had to add this. Thank you guys for watching. Please comment down below. Tell me your top 10 underrated horror films. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video. All Random Things will be doing his video showing his top 10. And, yeah, guys, I'm the Jay Sloan. You just watched Late Night Frights. Thank you for watching, guys. Until next time, comment, subscribe, and as always, keep it horror. Peace.